This is my crazy car collection. I have 11 in total. Some are cool, some are quirky, and some, oh, I forgot it doesn't work, does it? Are crap. In this video, I'm going to rank them from 1 to 11, from my favourite to my least favourite. I'm going to tell you what I like about them, what I don't like about them, annoying, what's gone wrong with them. You can see that the seam has actually corroded, and what's still wrong with them. Mate, thrown up a few faults. I'll also reveal exactly what I paid for each of them and how much I think they're each worth now. I'm even going to try and fix a few as part of this video. No, that's right. I'm Matt Watson, and you're watching Matt Watson Has Far Too Many Silly Cars. You're probably expecting the GT3 RS would be my favourite car out of the 11, but it's not. It's my second favourite car. I'll explain which is my favourite a little later on in the video. I think part of the problem is that it's not my favourite 911. There's another 911 I prefer slightly. If you want to find out what that is, click on the pop-out banner appearing in the top right-hand corner of the screen, or scan the QR code on screen now, and you'll find out exactly why. This car cost me £222,000, but I was lucky that I ordered it before Porsche increased their prices. I think if I'd have ordered it after, it would have cost around £245,000 with the options I had fitted to it. Value today? Well, at one point, these are like over £400,000, but they've fallen quite a lot. They're around about the 280 mark listed online. There's some variance between it, some over 300, some a bit lower, but this has got the right spec, so I'd hope to get around, I don't know, 260, 270, maybe 280. The number plate, if you're wondering, that cost me £8,500. So this car has all the key options on it, which will help its value come resale. So it's got the carbon ceramic brakes. I actually had to wait with my order for it to be able to be fitted with the carbons because there was a shortage. And earlier cars just had steel brakes. You've got to have carbons on a car like this. It's also got the Weissach pack with exposed carbon, lots of other bits and pieces such as the clicky gear shift paddles, and it's got the all-important nose lift. Never buy a GT3 RS with its low front splitter without the nose lift. So what do I love about this car? One is the look. It's so aggressive. It's like no other Porsche before it. Then there's the engine, 4 litre, flat six, naturally aspirated, revs all the way to 9,000 RPM, 525 horsepower, 475 Newton meters of torque. Brilliant 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, launch control. I mean, this thing is just, it's motorsport, but for the road or the track. It's actually for the track, isn't it? Because of all the aero. I've never taken it on track. What don't I like about this car? Well, when I was speccing it up, it's really annoying that quite a lot of things that should have been standard were options, like a reversing camera, which cost £1,000. Also, there's zero practicality in this car, so you can't really fit anything in the back because of the roll cage. Also, there's no front boot like on every other 911 because you've got some fans in there because of all the clever aero. However, what's more annoying is the fact that the fuel tank isn't particularly large, so you do have to pull over to fill up quite a lot. Also, I'm forever cleaning out these vents for all the road debris they pick up. Things I've done to this car include the satin PPF, which just works so well with the GT Silver. I've had these end plates here painted in GT Silver as well, because otherwise they're just black plastic. And I've had bespoke stickers, gold stickers to match the gold wheels. And these were special stickers sent to me from Germany. There has been one problem with this car, and it's the windscreen got a crack in it. I thought it was a stress fracture because this windscreen is super lightweight and they're a bit fragile, but when I took it into Porsche, the warranty team looked at it and they said there was a minute little stone chip, but it wouldn't have cracked any other screen. You want to know how much it costs to replace this windscreen? It's over £3,000. That's excluding VAT, by the way. Fortunately, I had insurance which covered my windscreen, so my insurer paid for it. Well, I had to pay an excess of £250 to get it fixed by Porsche. I could have gone to someone else for £150, but for the extra £100, it's worth getting it done by the dealer because you have to have all the sensors and stuff recalibrated. One of the things that really surprised me about the GT3 RS is that while it's like a track-focused car, it's also really good on road because you can mix and match all the suspension due to these special configuration buttons. You can actually make it reasonably comfortable. It actually goes down a road better than a normal GT3, even though it's got stiffer suspension, and it's an absolute blast to drive. It's so responsive, it handles insanely well, and of course it sounds amazing. My sixth favourite car is the Porsche Cayenne Turbo. It's a really useful family car. It's got bags of space, but it's also got loads of performance. You've got a 4.8 litre twin turbo V8, puts out 500 horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque, driving all 4 wheels via a 6-speed automatic gearbox. It will do 0 to 60 in around 5 seconds. This car isn't just good in a straight line, it actually handles well for a heavy SUV. You've got adaptive suspension, then you can change the different modes between comfort, normal and sport. Also, it's air suspension, so when you're having comfort, it really does just go over bumps so well. So it's a really nice long distance cruiser. Another feature is it also has a central locking diff and a low range mode for the gearbox, because it's a proper off-roader, this thing. Though obviously I've never been off-roading it. Now, one of the things I don't like about it is the infotainment system, because it's very old-fashioned. So I've actually just fitted this holder there for my mobile phone, so I just slot that in up there, and then what I do is use a little Bluetooth transmitter there, so I can actually send a signal from my phone into that, and it sends it to like an FM frequency, and I pick it up on the radio. It's not perfect, because if you listen to podcasts, you hear a kind of which increases and decreases in frequency as you rev the engine. The car cost me £7,500, which I think was quite a decent deal. It's only done 89,000 miles and it's got pretty much full service history as well. I reckon it's worth about £8,500, maybe even £9,000. Thing is though, it is quite expensive, so it only averages 18 miles to the gallon. Plus, I've spent quite a bit on it already for a engine service, gearbox service, some other bits and pieces being fixed, including the thermostat and the blower fan. It's had about £4,000 worth of work on it, though to be fair, that was done at a main Porsche dealership, but there are some other problems on it that still exist. So, the struts that hold the boot up are hidden inside the roof, and they can wear out over time, and they have started on this one. So it's all right in this position, but if the car's tipped back slightly, then this happens. It just shuts on you. Oh, classic, it's not doing it now. But yeah, it does that all the time. That's the reason why I've got this particular thing, because I wedge it in there so it doesn't clonk me on the head. It does have this facility though, which is quite good. And that was actually one of the things that I got fixed. One other thing that has gone wrong though, and I haven't fixed, the reversing camera. It doesn't display on the infotainment system. It pops out as it's supposed to, but you don't get any image. Another problem, as you can probably see, this headlight doesn't work. But I'm going to try and fix that myself. Right, so what I'm going to do is go on to gsfcarparts.com. I'm going to put in the reg of my Cayenne. I'm then going to look for headlamp bulbs, and I want a xenon headlamp bulb, and I want the OE one, which is the Osram. That's it, right? I'm going to put in the code. This is important. MAT25. I'm going to get 25% off with that code. You can use that code, okay? MAT25. That's got me the discount. I now need to go and get my bulb.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, I've come for the gas discharge bulb, please.
Yeah, I'll just go grab it for you. Okay. And there's your receipt.
Okay, I'm back. I've just fitted the new bulb. Look, there's the old one. That was an Osram 2. I love how the headlights on this just slide in and out, and then you lock them in place with this key. Come on, lock. That's it, locked. That's a good noise. Now let's just check if the lights work. So here we go. Please be on. Have I fixed it? That's the one headlamp on. Please be working this one. Yay, we have fixed it. If you want to get some parts for your car, head to gsfcarparts.com and use the code MAT25 for 25% off. Don't forget that, MAT25 for 25% off. Yes, you can thank me later. If you want to go to GSF Car Parts right now, click on the pop-out banner up there, or scan the QR code on screen now, or just follow the link in the description of this video or in the pinned comment. My 8th favourite car is this Porsche Boxster 986 generation. It has a 2.7 litre flat six naturally aspirated engine with 228 horsepower and 260 newton meters of torque, driving the rear wheels via a 5-speed manual gearbox. Does 0 to 60 in around 6 to 6.5 seconds. Doesn't sound particularly powerful, but actually it's quick enough for the road, and it's quite a nice revvy engine. The engine itself is actually mounted about here, so it's mid-engined. In many ways, that makes it slightly more fun handling than the 911 with its rear engine. You see, with the engine here, when you rotate it into a corner, it kind of like helps the car turn a bit more than with the 911 where you've got the engine at the back, and that's actually better for traction. What was that noise? Hopefully nothing expensive. I really like the interior of this car. As you can see, it looks almost brand new. It's in such good condition. I like the grey leather, and it's got the extended leather rather than like the entry-level cars, which had like a kind of rubberized door trims, and you had a rubberized dash. It's really nice, and it's got the wing-back sport seats as well. Really, really nice. This car cost me £6,000, which it seemed like a bit of a bargain because it had only done 38,000 miles. It's actually done 40 now. And it only had one owner from new, so I just snapped it up. And I reckon it'd be worth about £8,000. Well, it would be if it didn't have a few issues. When I bought it, it actually handled really badly. Part of the reason was the front tyres were shot, so I had new ones put on it. Also, the suspension geometry was just like all over the place. So I had to have it realigned. It was terrible. A bigger issue, which I haven't fixed yet, is the fact that it's a little bit rusty underneath. Now these bodies are galvanised, but there's quite a bit of surface rust under this car if you look on the underside. Now part of the reason for that is that this car was from Scotland and they tend to rust worse because they have longer winters with more salt on the roads. I'm going to get that treated or ice blasted. Another thing I want to do is probably fit an entire new suspension setup on it as well to just make it even sharper to drive. Another thing that needs doing is the gear shift linkages, because look, that's really stiff. Once you've driven the car for a bit, it kind of like loosens up, but yeah, look, it doesn't self-center. And then there's this. Have a listen to the exhaust. Can you hear that? Yeah, the exhaust is blowing. Needs a new catalytic converter. Another thing I want to do on the car is fit an upgraded intermediate shaft bearing. The one that is fitted from the factory, they're known to sometimes fail and it can just write off the entire engine. And there is one thing I need to do now because of that noise earlier, and that's actually better for traction. What was that noise? I just want to check the roof works because I was leaning on it when it went that weird click sound. Come on, go up. Thank God for that. My fifth favourite car is a Porsche 911 996. It's a 3.4, the one with the fried egg headlamps that everyone slags off, but I love this car. I bought this car in 2016 when I joined Carwow as a little treat to myself. I paid £16,000 for it and it only had 54,000 miles on the clock, so fairly low mileage. I reckon today, with all the mods I've done to it, it's probably worth about 22. It's had literally everything done to it. We've got Öhlins Road and Track suspension, it's got Tarot anti-roll bars and drop links, it's got EBC rated brakes, discs and pads. It's also got a Wavetrap limited slip differential. We've got semi-solid engine mounts, got the short shift gear shift and the 997 GT3. It's also got a single mass flywheel, so it revs up quicker than the standard car. I've had the Gundo hack done on the exhaust and it sounds amazing. I think it's the best sounding car I own actually. And I've had the intermediate shaft bearing replaced on it to a more durable roller bearing. And there's one other upgrade that's key to making it easier to live with every single day. I've got the Porsche Classic official modern infotainment upgrade there. I've got Google Maps, I've got Android Auto, it's brilliant. Most people probably won't find the interior of this car brilliant with this weird tan. Kind of reminds me of like Baby Sick. But I like it and I think it contrasts nicely with the blue exterior paint. This car's powered by a 3.4 litre naturally aspirated flat six which puts out 300 horsepower and 350 newton meters of torque. It drives the rear wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox and it'll do 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds. And one of the important things about the earlier cars is look, you have a cable throttle. They also tend to have a more durable engine than the later 996s and they're less likely to suffer from intermediate shaft bearing failures or bore scoring. Just putting that in case you're interested in buying this particular car. This car is absolutely amazing to drive. It's so pure and the mods have enhanced it. It's got hydraulic power steering, so you just feel the bumps in the road. It's really communicative. Also, there's loads of grip, but not too much grip. And because the car is quite small compared to a modern 911, you can easily bomb it down a back road without worry about like sideswiping an oncoming vehicle. The performance of this car is easily fast enough for road use. You don't need cars quicker than this. And I actually think that cars from this era, like late 90s, early noughties, the sweet spot in terms of handling balance, but not too many aids that get in the way of the actual overall driving experience. I love this car. There is one problem with it though. For some reason, the alarm sometimes just goes off randomly. I'm not sure if it's because I don't use it much and the battery's gone too low, but it does my head in. For some reason, it doesn't stop it with the key. You have to do this. Is it going to start again? No. Ah, right, look. Ah. Annoying! Everyone says the 996 is the ugliest 911, but I disagree. I think it's one of the most beautiful, well, from this angle at least. You might be thinking, wait a minute, Matt, the wheels look a bit small. Yes, I've kept it on the original 17s because I haven't really bought it to look at, I've bought it to drive. The 17s just ride better over bumps than the 18-inch alloy wheels. My fourth favourite car is my Mazda MX-5 NB, also known as the Mark II. Actually, if this car was standard, it would probably be my least favourite, but it's been tuned. Look at this. We have a M45 supercharger. I don't know what all this stuff is. This means that the power goes up from 140 horsepower to over 200. At the wheels, it's got like 190 horsepower. It's insane and it sounds amazing. It's It's also been fitted with Meister R coilovers, it's got upgraded brakes, pads from EBC, it's got braided hoses, and it comes as standard this car with a limited slip differential. It really is quite tail happy, and you can control the slides. It's such a fun car to drive. I just love convertibles, and I love how open this car feels. The gear shift on it is amazing as well. It's only a 5-speed, but it's sweet as. The driving position is great as well. It really is such a fun car. Often I think about selling this, but then I go out for a drive and I realise just it's probably my most fun car to drive on the road because you can use its power. It's so playful and it's so small as well and light. It only cost me £2,500, though it's had about £4,000 worth of mods on it. I bought this car in 2010 and it's been pretty much fault free. All it's needed is a new radiator because the old one leaked. Oh, and it's had that sill repaired, and this one needs repairing a little bit here. Actually, the rust on this car hasn't been too bad for an MX-5. They are notoriously rusty. This one has seemed fairly solid, apart from those minor areas. If there is one thing I don't like about the car, it's the looks. This generation of MX-5 is the most ugly. It sort of looks like a guppy, doesn't it? It's like... And then there's this number plate that I put on myself. It's just all wrinkled and crinkled and terribly fitted. If anyone can help me out with a new one of these, please just DM me on Instagram. Now the roof on this car, as you can see, look, there's little bits of wear here, so I have to be careful when I shut it. And then if you look here, can you see this? Yeah, one day I came to the car and I thought, wait a minute, I've got the window in my hand and the roof is up. Put my hand up and it went straight through the roof because someone had slashed it. But I did the repair myself, look, it's just there and underneath there. Now that actually happened almost 10 years ago, and it's just stood the test of time, so I'm quite pleased with myself. My ninth favourite car is the little Honda S660, which I've only just recently purchased. I bought the car at auction in Japan, and it cost about £6,000, but after all, shipping, tax, and getting it converted to UK road use and registered, it came in at just under £11,000 for this car, but I reckon I could sell it for around £13,000. Yeah, it's got 60-odd thousand miles on the clock, but it's a manual, and most of them online seem to be automatics, and you want the manual with this car because the manual gearbox is just mwah. The car is in really, really good condition, as you can see from the interior. The Japanese seem to keep their cars better than we do here in the UK. It's spotless underneath as well. I'm absolutely amazed by it. I'm really pleased with my purchase. It is rather snug in here, and there is absolutely no storage. You see, underneath the bonnet there is a front boot, but if you take the roof down, then you have to put it in this storage tray here. Look, it folds up in there. Look, there it is. So you can either have the roof up and carry some things, or have the roof down and take nothing with you. Now this roof is actually quite easy to fit. Here's a little clip. Don't know why I'm doing music. Okay, just pull this over here like this. Find the slot, go in here. And then the last thing to do, I'll just whiz round. And you'll see this, you just have to latch this little thing to hold it in place. This is not a very powerful car. You see, it's only got a 600cc 3-cylinder turbo engine with 64 horsepower and just over 100 newton meters of torque. Drives the rear wheels are a 6-speed manual gearbox, and it's good for 0 to 60 in around 12 seconds. It's actually not quite as slow as you think because that turbo engine is pretty punchy, and this car is light. It weighs just over 800 kilos, and with that mid-engine layout, rear-wheel drive, it's really got great handling balance. And one of the things I particularly like about it is when you turn it on, you hear that? Got this special attachment for Japanese toll roads. Talks at you in Japanese when you turn it on. Tiny things. I haven't really had this car very long, but a couple of problems include a chip on the windscreen. I'm not sure when it appeared. I think it was actually when I bought it, so I got that fitted, because if I crack this windscreen, I don't know where I'll get a new one from, because this car has never been sold officially in the UK. Also, the exhaust is a little bit wonky, which sort of does my OCD in. It's a bit of a shame because I really love the look of this car, and that's one of the biggest appeals of it to me. It's so rare that it turns heads wherever you drive it. Plus, being tiny means it's really easy to navigate in tight village roads and park in tight spaces. The downside is, though, is if you're on the motorway and there's lorries driving next to you, it's really quite frightening. In case you're wondering, that number plate was about £3,000. You think it's a bit cringe? My seventh favourite car is the little Citroen Ami buggy. I've had the car about a year, but it's only done 165 miles. Now you might be thinking, I've never used it. That's not true. It's actually used quite a lot by me and my missus for taking my daughter Grace to school. School's only about like 800 metres away, so rather than like start up an internal combustion engine car, we will take this. And obviously when parking is at a premium outside school, there's plenty of room for this little thing. As you can see, we fitted a child seat to the passenger seat. Now I wouldn't recommend taking this car out with a child seat on the main road, but for just driving around a village, it's fine. And to be fair, my daughter absolutely loves this car. She'd be really disappointed if she couldn't go in it. What's your favourite car?
Amy. It's over there.
I love quirky looking cars, and you don't get quirkier than the Citroen Ami buggy. So you'll probably notice that the front is exactly the same as the back. The panels are just almost interchangeable, same from left to right. And this looks even quirkier than the standard Ami because being the buggy, there are no doors, just these bars to stop you falling out. Now that brings me on to the things that annoy me about this car a little bit. So you do have these like kind of like plasticky covers which you can zip across, but they don't extend all the way down. So if it's really raining hard, water still gets in there. And because of that, at night I have to cover the car. Otherwise, you know, if there's a sudden downpour, you're gonna get into it and it's gonna be flooded with water. Another issue is the power or lack thereof. So it has 8 horsepower, it's front wheel drive. It can only do 28 miles an hour. Though to be fair, you probably won't want to go any quicker because there's not going to be much crash protection. And the range on a full charge is just over 45 miles. That's not the issue though, because you know, you're not going to take it far. It's the fact that it's quite slow to charge because you just charge it off a normal 3-pin socket. Another problem with these blooming stupid plastic doors is that arse to roll back, because you have to hold them like that. Oh, don't slip. And hold it steady and don't let it like extend out to get this pressed to click in. The Citroen Ami buggy was about £10,000 when it was new. However, Citroen didn't bring many into the UK and it doesn't import any anymore. I think they're all sold out. As a result, there's used ones available online from between £11,000 and £12,000. So there's profits here. My third favourite car is the Toyota GR Yaris. In fact, if I could only have one of my cars and had to keep it forever and live with it, it would actually be this car because it does it all. It's absolutely insanely good fun to drive. It's seriously quick. It's not too big, so it's easy to park and navigate around busy city streets. It's also got it's got some practicality. It's got a boot that you can fit some things in, and it's got some back seats, and it's got Isofix for the child seat. And despite the performance, it's not that expensive to run. Plus, it comes with Toyota's 5-year warranty, which is actually bumped up to 10 years when you have it serviced regularly at a Toyota main dealer. I really love the look of this car as well. And I like the fact that it's a Toyota Yaris because people just don't realise what it is unless they know. And it really isn't a Toyota Yaris, not a normal one anyway, because the only things carried across from the standard car are the door mirrors and the tail lights. Everything else is bespoke. This car is powered by a wicked 1.6 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine. Might not sound like much, but it puts out 260 horsepower and 360 newton meters of torque. What's even better is the way it just rips to its red line, better than most other turbocharged engines. I love it. You've got a 6-speed manual gearbox which has a nice mechanical feel to it, and you've got a 4-wheel drive system which was bespoke to this car, and it's got 3 different modes. One is normal, where it's 60% of the power goes to the front, 40 to the rear. Sport, which is 30% to the front, 70% to the rear, or track, which is a 50-50 split, and this thing just grips the road like you would not believe. It's got amazing brakes too. They're so powerful, and it helps that this car is reasonably light. It comes in at 1,280 kilos. Things I don't like about it. The driver's seat is a little bit too raised. You can't quite get it low enough. Also, this pod here and the big rear view mirror means that between there is not that much space, so I end up driving it with a mirror turned like that. Now those are 2 issues were actually rectified with the Mark II version of this car. Thing is though, the new car wasn't built to go rallying, whereas this one was. They had to build this car for homologation rules, but then those rules subsequently changed, so they don't need to do that anymore. But it does add to the appeal and the long-term value for this particular car. When I bought this, it cost me £35,000. I actually paid slightly over because used car prices were silly in 2022. Value of this today, well, it's in around 8,000 miles. I reckon I could sell it perhaps for about £28,000. I suppose one selling point to this car is the fact that it comes with full PPF in, once again, satin finish. Looks lovely on this pearlescent white paint. In 11th place, and my least favourite car, is the BMW X5 from 2002. I don't totally hate it. You see, it's actually been very useful because this is a car that, one, I don't really care that much about, so if it gets damaged or dinged, no skin off my nose, and it's been really useful in terms of its practicality. There's plenty of space in it, and I use it mainly for taking things to the dump, basically my garbage truck. Also, it's really quite smooth to drive, and it's decent over bumps, very comfortable to do distance in, but there are some things that annoy me about it. Considering it's got a 4.4 litre V8, it doesn't feel that quick. So it's got 286 horsepower, 440 Newton meters of torque. It drives all four wheels via a 6-speed automatic gearbox, and it'll do 0 to 60 in 7 seconds. It's thirsty. You're lucky to get about 20 mpg out of this if you're cruising. I bought the car about 1.5 years ago from Taylor Hetherington from Auto Alex. He charged me £2,700 for it. I think that was an all right deal. Could probably sell it for about £3,000, though I have had to spend some money on it. The tyres and brakes were on the way out, so I've had new tyres on it, new brakes on it, both discs and pads. I've fitted new brake hoses as well because the old ones were a bit rusty. I've also had to replace the passenger, the driver and the rear driver's side door handles, the internal mechanism, because they break. It's a common problem on these cars. It's the way the handle mechanism moves up. You don't just pull it out, you move it kind of like up and out. And so if you pull it like that, you can snap the mechanism inside and they wear out over time. Another thing that broke was the cable that releases the bonnet. It's a real arse when that happens because it's quite tough to get the bonnet open without it connected. The windscreen washer jets also got blocked, and it's a common problem on these because the tank gets full of mould, but there is a solution. So what you do is put a Milton baby bottle cleansing tablet in there and it kills all the bugs and the mould. And then you disconnect one of these pipes which leads to the washer nozzles, and then you get something like a pump, say for pumping out your tyre, attach it to that and blow the air back into the bottle and it cleans out the clogged filter. Then you just siphon all the nasty goop from in there out and then just fill it with fresh screen wash. If you look in here, you can see I've actually had a tow bar fitted to it. It didn't come with one, but the guys at BMW fitted one, and I've never used it. I plan to get a trailer, but I haven't bought one yet. Another problem I've got with this car is that one of the rear parking sensors is out, so the whole system doesn't work. When you put it in reverse, you get that noise and this flashing light to signify there's a problem, and you kind of need the parking sensors to work in a big car like this. Now I do know which sensor has failed, and there's a little trick for finding out which one it is. So you put it in reverse, and if it's working, it'll go like a little clicking sound from its sonar. So that one's working there, and this one doesn't make a noise, and that's because that's the one that is buggered. So I'm going to have to fit a replacement there. Not sure it's going to be that easy to get my hands in and round the back. Of course it's that one, the one that's hardest to get at. Oh, classic. Another problem is that the boot doesn't open on the button here, so you have to run round and press the button in the cabin. But you need to get back round to it in time, otherwise it locks itself again. The other option on the key, and then it works. It's frustrating, but there's something else. So sometimes the battery will run flat, and I couldn't figure out why that would be. However, when I jump start it, one time I noticed there's some smoke came from under here when I connected the jumper pack to the car, and I think the auxiliary fan, which is this one at the front, which blows for the air conditioning, has got some kind of false earth or something. It basically needs replacing. I've also noticed that when I drive it, after about a few minutes, you get a flickering battery light on the dash. So it could be that the alternator's failing, or that false earth means that some electricity is like leaking out of the system, and that's why the battery light is flickering. But I need to take it to a professional to diagnose exactly what's going on and to get it fixed. I'm at a garage called QCD in Brackley. We've got the X5 in. We've done a full fault code diagnostic on it, thrown up a few faults. We're now just checking the battery because we think there's the problem with the alternator. I'm going to check whether that current alternator is charging the battery. Don't worry though, because there's been a delivery from GSF. We've had a brand new Bosch alternator delivered for the car. There it is, fresh in there. So we're just confirming that the old one is shot. We think it is, and we're going to put this in. My 10th favourite car is this little Polski Fiat 126. So I actually bought it when I was dating a Polish girl. Went over to Poland, saw loads of these about, fell in love with them, a bit like with a girl, and bought one. Unfortunately, the girl left and the car remained. Actually, I think that's the better option. It's powered by a 600cc two-cylinder air-cooled engine. It puts out a colossal 23 horsepower and 39 newton meters of torque, and it drives the rear wheels via a 4-speed manual gearbox. It's got a top speed of 65 miles an hour, and it'll do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 49 seconds. Incredible. While this car is rather small on the outside, it's actually surprisingly roomy here on the inside. So in the front, there's enough space for average size adults, and if I just jump into the back, bear with me, it's okay for children. Even I can just about squeeze back here, look. In fact, you know, back in the day, these cars were used by Polish families. They go fully loaded, 4 people up, luggage on the roof, off on holiday for loads and loads of miles. Mad to think, really. Whereas today, we're all just driving around one person in a huge SUV. Actually, in Poland, this car has a nickname. It's called Maluch, which means the little one. And there's loads of jokes about them. For instance, the rear window heater is actually known as hand warmers because often the car breaks down and you have to push it. Speaking of breaking down, it's really odd how you start it. So I'll just show you now. You turn the ignition on there like that, get the lights up there. And then you have 2 levers just down here. Can you see? 2 levers there. And that is the choke and this is the starter. So I'm going to start it to make sure it's out of gear. Come on, cough into life. Maybe it needs a new battery. I think I better contact GSF Car Parts. Looks like I might be having to use the hand warmers myself, doesn't it? Now, one of the things I do like about this car, when it's working, is the fact that it's actually surprisingly fun to drive. It's quite nimble because it's just so small and so light, but there are some things that are not so good about it. Okay, so have a look at this. The seat belts, they're like not inertia types at all. Look, they're just like this. It's not ideal, is it? And anyway, the crash protection on this car is about as good as tinfoil. In fact, there is another joke about these cars, and it's what are the crumple zones in a Fiat 126? Your knees. Lovely. Now I want to show you something else as well, which is a bit of an issue. If I just pull this up, that will release the bonnet, and then I can lift it up. So while I've had this car treated for underseal, you can probably see it here. It's had like seal, under seal. There is still rust coming through, and if you look closely, like around here, you'll see little bits of rust. These things love to rust. I keep it under a cover from Classic Editions, which helps, you know, keep it away from the elements, even though I park it outside. But, you know, these kind of cars are just prone to rotting. Look, a bit of rust there. Oh, rust. There's another problem with it as well. So the fuel gauge actually reads backwards. See that? Looks like it's empty. It's not empty, it's actually full. See, when it's full, it shows empty, and when it's empty, it shows full. And when it's about to go to empty, it flicks between empty to full. That's how you know it's time to fill up. But you know what? With a classic car such as this, those faults are just known as quirks, and I do love this little car. You know, it was especially good in London, driving through the narrow city streets. I could even park it in shopping trolley parking bays in supermarket car parks if there's no other spaces. Now, this car cost me £3,000 all in to buy it in Poland, have it done up in Poland, and then have it shipped all the way to the UK. And I reckon I could probably sell this today for around £5,000. So my favourite car, and the one I'm least likely to sell, believe it or not, is the Suzuki Jimny. It's not because it's cool and quirky and cute and everyone likes it. And it's not because it's rare. You see, Suzuki had to stop selling the passenger car version of this vehicle in the UK because it's got reasonably high emissions. They can only sell a van version. The reason it's my favourite car above the GT3 RS is this little handprint there. That's my daughter's handprint. This was the car that I picked her up from hospital for the very first time after she was born.
I love the Suzuki Jimny.
I bought the car in 2020 during COVID as a little treat to myself. It cost me about £22,000 with options. I think today though, it's worth about £26,000 because they're really desirable. This one's only done 8,000 miles. In case you're wondering, the number plate, my 70 Jimny, was about 300 quid, bargain. So some of the upgrades I've got on this car: the shiny wheel cover, got a tow bar, never used that. I've also got these plasticky side skirts. We've got roof bars, never used those either. Then here at the front, we've got the upgraded grille, which looks cooler, and this kind of bit of trim here. I've got diff guards as well for when I take it off-road. I've never taken it off-road. So then, things I love about the Jimny. Its cute looks means that everyone loves it. Wherever you drive, people just smile at it and they let you pull out at junctions. It's also very easy to maneuver and park because it's so small. It helps that, look, we've got a reversing camera. I'm not sure if that was an optional and I can't remember. But really the kit that you get in this car, you know, it's got all I need. I've got like heated seats, I've got climate control, I've got Android Auto, and I think the design of the interior is pretty cool as well. Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of like brittle plastics, built down to a price, but what do you expect? I like the fact that it's got proper four-wheel drive, although I haven't really used it, but it's there if I need it, you know, if it snows. The only thing that annoys me about the interior really is the stereo. It's a little bit puny, but that's not the only thing that's puny. You see, the engine is a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with just 101 horsepower and 130 newton meters of torque. In two-wheel drive mode, it drives the rear wheels via a 5-speed manual gearbox. This thing does 0-60 in around 15 seconds. Now, I don't really mind the slow part, that's part of the charm. However, what I do mind is the fact that despite being slow, it's not very economical. Average is 34 mpg. Also, when you're on the motorway around 70, you're in 5th gear and it's revving quite high. It makes a right old racket. Plus, you get quite a lot of wind noise. I think these roof bars make it even worse. Another thing that's a problem is the handling. It's kind of like a little bit kind of flopping all over the road, and when you're going at higher speeds and there's gusts of winds, you can feel it like blow you from lane to lane almost. I mean, have a look at this, how wobbly it is. See that? Now, if you think that's bad, it was actually way worse as standard, because I've actually fitted this car with some upgraded Öhlins shock absorbers, and they have really, really improved the handling. It's still not great and it's still a bit wobbly, but it's far, far better than it was before. Believe it or not, another upgrade that I've had is this. It's been PPF'd. Now, the idea was that it would protect the paintwork if I take it off-roading and it gets scratched by brambles and stuff. It's protected it in the supermarket car park at least. I've also had it under sealed because Japanese cars do have a tendency to rust. Another problem is that while there is enough room for 4 adults in this car, or 3 adults and a child seat, there isn't much room for anyone's luggage. I mean, this is the boot with the back seats in place. This car has been fault-free, apart from one particular thing that has just started happening. Have a listen to this. Can you hear that noise after I hit it? The rear window rattles slightly when you're driving along, and it just does my head in. I think I'm gonna have to have it removed and then refitted. But other than that, I absolutely love this car. And yeah, believe it or not, it is my favourite out of the 11 that I own. To finish with, here's a recap of the car's rankings. In case you're wondering, I estimate my entire fleet is worth about £400,000, which is about £62,000 more than I paid for them. Though I've got a horrible feeling I'm about to eat into this with the repair work on the X5. It's a week later and I'm back at QCD and I'm here with William, who's been working on the car. How was it, William?
It was a nightmare, but we got it done.
So you had the front off the car.
We had problems with the alternator because it's encased in the engine. It was a nightmare, but we got it done.
I was watching videos online, you know, because I'll order the part online from JSF and do it myself. Some parts you can do yourself, but that alternator, I'm glad it was your problem, mate. It starts. Have we got a battery light? Mate, we've got no battery light. You fixed the car. I'm really happy. The X5 is all fine. And you've even replaced my parking sensor so it works. Thanks JSF for the parts, by the way. Actually, there is one last thing to check. So apparently the cable on this snapped, so they couldn't open the bonnet. Was that a nightmare as well?
It was.
And you had to fit a new one of these, didn't you?
Yes, we have. We couldn't get it open, so we had to cut it.
But it's all fine now, and I can take the BMW away, and you never want to see it again, do you?
I wouldn't say that.
Would you like it? £3,000, do you want it?
I prefer a donation, but
I bet you do. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know which of my cars is your favourite in the comments below. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to turn your notifications on. You see, I've bought another car, and I'll be revealing exactly what it is in a future video, so you don't want to miss out. And you can subscribe by just clicking on my logo somewhere on this screen. Also, if you want to watch some other videos, just click on the windows. Thanks for watching.